Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to episode 98 of Direwolf20's Let's Play series. I'm playing around with some more of my wiring in my bee room. What I've done is set up a new tank in here because one of the new liquids that we're going to need is going to be honey. So we've got an empty tank here ready to go, and I thought I had a cool idea. Let's see if it works out though. Basically, I already have a squeezer set up somewhere, there it is, to squeeze seeds into seed oil, right? So what if now I decided that I wanted to also use the same squeezer to get honey into liquid honey? So that shouldn't be too hard of a problem to solve, actually. So let's start off by putting our honey drops that we've been getting from our bees into our squeezer, and that should start flowing downstairs. But of course it's going to get stuck right here. Not a problem. I'm just going to run a fluid duct right over to here. And what should happen now is all the honey will filter its way into that iron tank. Cool. And you can see it flowing in, doing its thing. Now underneath, I've already set up a P2P tunnel that leads up to a new carpenter all the way up here, because we're going to have some carpenter recipes which require honey to interact with. So if we take a look, we should be getting honey in here somewhere soon. Maybe we're not. So let me figure out where all that honey's going. So honey's there. So let's... Settings saved. Settings loaded. You should be ready to accept honey now. Why are you not getting honey? I don't know. Oh, because you're connected to the yellow line. That's why. Haha. Alright, so I'm going to have to solve that. That's going to be tricky. Let's see. Tricky wiring is tricky. That is very tricky. Let me actually break you so that you don't retain your settings. Maybe. Let's see. How am I going to get... Do I have any more green cable? I should actually. Let's find it. Good. No, I don't want that. That has to be a green cable then. We're going to have to make these guys yellow cables, which I think means I'm going to have to craft a few more yellow cables. There we go. And then this guy can be green. There we are. Look at that, huh? Cool, right? So then it's just a matter of loading memory card settings and... Nice. Honey flowing in. So this carpenter is now ready to work with the honey. Cool. So obviously a little bit of funky wiring here, but it's kind of what's necessary for the cool little crazy setup I'm doing. Could I, if I really wanted to, not have a separate system here? Sure, but I just thought it would be fun to build. It seemed like a good time, and I enjoyed making it, so it is what it is. Meanwhile, our apiary has been cruising. Our tropical drones are doing a really nice job. I've left my server online for a little while here, so this thing is, cooking along, and it's only been a little bit of time since I recorded the last episode, but we've already got a decent amount of resources as a result of this. We've got some honey drops, we've got some honeydew, and we've got some propolis. Now, the good news is that when you squeeze honey in the squeezer, you have a chance at making propolis. That's right. So there's pretty much two ways to get it. The main way to get it is centrifuge stringy combs, which we'll get to in a little bit. Your other option, of course, is centrifuging some of that silky propolis, which we have about a 10% chance of getting it. And then when you squeeze it, you have about a 5% chance per honey drop to get one. So, it's not super common, but it'll happen now and then. So I just used a bunch of honey drops and got a bunch of honey, which is good news because I can use it to make some neat stuff. But I definitely want to hang on to some honey drops so I can continue to analyze using my Bealyzer. Cool. So let's keep that in mind. All right, let me get situated here, make sure that we've got everything that we want to get. By the way, I'm just out of curiosity. Well, let's first off get these guys put all back together. So obviously we've got a lot of drones going on here. I need to resolve them and make them behave. And let's see, hopefully these guys will run. I do want to also check in real quick. Any diamonds yet? Nope. I'm up to 3 gold nuggets though. Does that help? No, it does not. It does not help at all. I've got plenty of gold, and gold nuggets are kind of not helpful. So I'll be back in a few minutes when I've got what I want to get to start up playing more with bees. Alright guys, I've just been doing a little bit of Thaumcraft research because there's a section of your Thaumonomicon called Apiomancy, which covers magic bee type stuff. Now there's a lot of stuff you can get in here that's pretty neat. You can get a Thaumium scoop and a Thaumium grafter, you can get a magic frame, which is basically pretty similar to the other frame. So for example, I think the magic frame doubles your production, whereas the proven frame also doubles your production. So it's a little easier to get though, because you can actually craft the magic frame instead of the proven one, which is only tradable with villagers. However, the one I'm looking at is the Essence of the Shallow Grave. This is a nifty one. You can either get this by throwing some rotten flesh into a crucible, or you can actually, I think you can craft it somehow. I thought there was a crafting recipe. Maybe it is only this. Let's see. And then a magic frame with this essence gets you a necrotic frame. I wonder if there's another way to make a necrotic frame. Let's see. Magic frame plus Essence of Shallow Grave. Okay, Essence of Shallow Grave. Oh, there is a crafting recipe. Cool. Soulful wax, which I believe you can only get from a type of bee. Yeah. All right, so I guess your best bet for going this route is the Crucible. So we're going to want some rotten flesh, mortis, and perdito. That shouldn't be too hard to get our hands on. Let's also make sure that we have a water bucket. If not, I'll just need a bucket. I should probably get 2 buckets for this room. So let's get this thing crafted up and we'll see what it's all about, because it's actually going to be really useful for what we want to do coming up. So let's find a spot to put our water source. That ought to do. Let's go into bat mode just so we don't have a big mess all over our void age. Cool. Wonder if I could just have it back there. That would be neat, maybe. We'll do it later. So for now, let's get this thing filled up. And it was zombie flesh, perdito, and mortis. Okay. I wonder if I could have an easy access to this room back here. So I wouldn't mind having, let's see, perdito. Should have mortis in here somewhere. There it is. So if I did 32 of these, that would give me 8 essences of Shallow Grave. Not bad. So I just need 8 zombie flesh. Then it should be a simple matter. Hopefully I can do this all in one go, but let's see. 1, 2, 3. Cool. See how there's nothing left in there? Awesome. I've got my Essence of Shallow Grave. Perfect. So now that I've got these, I need to get magic frames, which I need to do the research for. So let's go make that happen. Well, that doesn't look too bad. Just some sticks around some enchanted fabric. Nice. So I just need some string and some wool. I can manage that. So let's get this out of the AE system here. I'm going to want, first off, some sticks. Let's make sure I have a good stack of them or so. There we go. Wool. And string. Let's get a stack of string. And this ought to do. So wool, string, get this guy in there, and then sticks all around you. And that should get me the 8 of those that I want. And then I'm going to only combine these 3 times right now. So I want 3 necrotic frames. Now what's so cool about necrotic frames, you're probably asking? Well, I am glad you asked. Necrotic frames will reduce the lifespan of your bee by about 1/3. It's actually 0.3, so it's actually a little better than a third. Chocolate frames, on the other hand, only reduce it by about a half. So you get a significantly faster dying bee as a result. So let's take a combination of bees, for example. Let's see, what should I do here? I would like to combine these two bees a little bit. I'm going to start breeding. So let's grab a forest drone and a meadows drone. This is basically your best bet for your initial bee breeding process. So let's go ahead and get these. These guys are usually easy to find, so I don't need to worry too much about finding another one of them. Let's put them together in here. Okay, and I'm going to put them in there with necrotic frames, which should cause them to die pretty quickly. Now, what's the deal with this breeding thing? Basically, when you combine two bee species, there's a chance for them to mutate into a different one. But the trick is you need to know which species you need to combine into and which ones they combine and become. So I happen to know from doing bee breeding in the past that the first step to becoming a better bee breeder is getting yourself some common bees. And you can see that this is basically a combination of almost any two bees that you'll find out in the world. So forests and meadows being the first one that I did. Okay, so lots of different combinations. You could do all kinds of different stuff to get the common bee. So if you look up the recipe of what you can use with common bees, you'll find that if you combine the common with either a forest or a meadows drone, you'll get cultivated bees. Now these guys are really nice because they're fast workers by comparison to the forest drone, which is the slowest worker. What does this mean? It means that you'll get a lot more resources out of the cultivated bee than you will out of meadows and forest drones. They're slow workers. This guy's a fast worker, so they're definitely better. The common princess is slower by comparison to the slowest of the forest drone. So common you're going to do a little bit better, but cultivated is really where it's at. And you want that trait that's called fast worker. And I'm going to show you how to isolate and snag the traits off these bees so that you can do cool stuff with them. Now, whoa, that was fast. Okay, so 3 necrotic frames pretty much killed our bee almost instantly. That's neat. So let's go ahead and analyze these guys and see if we got any bit of luck. So let's go toss him in here. That's a meadows forest drone. So you can see we've got actually 2 traits combined. This one's also meadows forest, and this one is also meadows forest. So we really didn't get too lucky. So what I'm going to do is try and get ourselves a little bit more luck, and for that we're going to need a soul frame. So one of the other things that we're going to want here is the essence of fickle performance, which basically causes normally stable systems to become somewhat unreliable. This increases your mutation chance. So whenever you combine those two bees, as we showed you, there's a chance for mutation. So let's look at that common bee again. You can see here that there's about a 15% chance for mutation when you combine forest and meadows genes together. However, if we have a magic frame in there, the metabolic frame, you get a 1.8 time mutation rate per frame that you've got in the thing. So what I'm thinking is I'll combine these two. So let's first off get some netherrack, because that's what I'm going to need to make this thing. So we can see here 8 per dito, 5 per mutatio, netherrack. So I'm going to get 4 netherrack, and that should get us what we want to get. So let's find this guy, and we'll find some netherrack, 4, and then we can just drop 1, 2, 3. Nice. So I got 4 of these guys. What I'm going to do is combine them with magic frames. And I only want, for now, let's try getting 1, 2. And what I'm going to do is put these bees back in here. So the princess, who, oh darn, doesn't have the trait that I want. Let's see. Yeah, she's not going to survive in this environment. Let's see if either of these do. So that's normal, normal. This one has normal 1. So this is the drone I'm going to use. I'm going to put this drone over here. And this princess, I'm going to put in the acclimatizer. And let's give her a minute in there. There we go. Got her back up to up 1. So here's what I'm going to do. Instead of having 3 necrotic frames, which almost kills your bee instantly, which is a good thing because you're hoping that they die off and then have a new species come out of it, we're going to replace 2 of those with metabolic frames. So this will give us a good, strong chance for mutation, but it'll also significantly increase the speed at which they die off. So let's put these frames away for now. Don't need them much anymore. And we'll keep an eye on this thing. Let's see here. I'll come back once we've had 1 life tick of the princess there, the queen. So you can see that this thing really quickly, made a move. Now, really, the metabolic frame only applies once the bee dies. So if you wanted to be smart about it, you could have enough necrotic frames in here, keep an eye on it, and then, when it's about to die, switch them all back to metabolics and but it's up to you. I find this route to be the best. Just kind of put a couple metabolics in there, one necrotic to speed things up, and you'll have hopefully a bee that's going to die off pretty darn quick. So I'm just going to manually take care of all these guys for a moment, and we'll be back in just a minute. So you can see this time, because we had metabolic frames in here, look at this. We've got common princesses. Now, that's not to say that if you didn't have the metabolic frames, you wouldn't get common princesses. It's just that you've got a better chance to get them if you use that. So let's see. This is a common forest princess. This is a common drone. And this is a common meadows drone. So what happens is, every bee species has an active and an inactive set of genes. The ones that are active are what are actively applying to it. But the inactive gene might get passed along to the offspring, and you might wind up with a meadows offspring with a common bee. So what your goal is when you're bee breeding is to find a common princess and a common drone. Once you've found that, you know that you will never have anything but common offspring as a result of this. So because we've got now a common princess, or a common forest princess, and a common drone, you're going to want to go ahead and combine those two together. Do not breed with the common meadows drone that we have over here. That would probably be a mistake, right? So your best bet is to combine the purebred common drone. He's absolutely 100% common, and this is half common, half not common. Put them together, and now that we've already got the mutations done, we don't have to worry about metabolic frames anymore, and we can just go straight to necrotic frames, and we just want to run through this cycle until we happen to get a purebred common princess and a purebred common drone, and then we'll be good to go. So let's wait for that to happen, and we'll be right back. So seconds later, we have a death. So let's now look in here again and see what we wound up with. So we've got a common princess. That's really good. And we've got a common cultivated drone. Well, that's kind of cool. And then we've got the common meadows drone. So not the ideal situation. What we really want is a purebred common. So let's go ahead and combine these two, the common meadows and the common, because we do want to actually hang on to this cultivated hybrid. That might not be a terrible thing to hold on to. Oh, it looks like we lost our climatizer settings. So let's go ahead and take care of that again too. And then we'll be back. Hopefully we'll get a purebred common out of this. I'm also going to go ahead and store these two drones here, the ones that are, half-bred, if you will, or mixed species, however you want to call it. I want to put them in there, so non-purebred drones will go in one filing cabinet, and purebred drones will go in a different one. So this guy's actually meadow forest, so we don't want him in there, and I don't think there were any others, so that's cool. You guys done yet over here? What'd I get? Meadows princess? Come on now, you're killing me. Meadows common meadows. All right. So again, always take the purebred drone and mix it with, the princess, and hopefully we come up with some luck. So at this point, it's really just a game of luck, but having these 3 necrotic frames are really going to be helpful because it means that the bee dies instantly and we wind up really quickly, getting to the point where we want to be. So let's see what happens now. So call it luck or not, but I just got a purebred cultivated princess. Look at that. That is cool. So purebred cultivated, purebred drone. Looks like they kind of came together there and wound up making some really good combination. So I guess what I want to do now is let these guys run through a little bit. So I'm going to put the necrotic frames back in. I want to get a bunch of extra cultivated drones. It's nice to have a lot of cultivateds. However, I am going to need to get this guy acclimatized to the environment. Now that we've got the cultivated drone, we are well on our way to some cool stuff. The next one I really want to focus towards working on is probably industrious. So let's see. There we go, industrious drone. So this is a combination of diligent and unweary. Unweary is a combination of diligent and cultivated, and diligent is a combination of common and cultivated. All right, so we've already gotten our cultivated drone really good. We're going to probably need to get some commons again, and then we're going to want to combine them and hopefully get ourselves a diligent queen. Now, the problem is that you actually have a chance here of getting either noble from your common cultivated, or you could get diligent from your common cultivated, and there's a couple other combinations I think as well that you can get, but the main two are noble and that. So yeah, noble and I guess diligent are the two main ones. So we'll see what happens, but for now it looks like All right, I'm waiting for the acclimatizer. Did you finish? Not yet. So let me do some off-camera work here, guys, and I'll be back to finish up getting these drones mutated to the point where I have some really good stuff being produced. So let's set up a small system to automatically just make a bunch of drones from a purebred system. So these guys are both purebred cultivated, right? So we have 0% chance, absolutely 0% chance that they will ever be a problem for us and become another type of drone. So what I'm going to do is keep these necrotic frames in here, and I'm going to just set up this little system right like so. All I have to do is tell this guy to ignore redstone. Now what's going to happen is, real quick, the cultivated princess and drone will get pulled out, will be inserted into the top, because it always goes to the nearest available inventory, and anything that they produce will not be allowed into the top here, so will bounce into the chest. Also, any excess cultivated drones will also bounce into the chest. So this guy's going to run for a few seconds, the drone will die off, and we'll see the whole thing start over again. I also have a new set of, I combined forest and meadows over here with 3 metabolic frames. I'm just going to leave them while I work on some other stuff and hopefully come back to a good amount of common bees. And then I'll run them through the same process, and what I'll probably wind up with is a bunch of common and a bunch of cultivated bees, which will allow me to start working towards the next thing. So hey, looks like I got exactly what I was hoping for. Perfect. So we can see here we're getting a surplus of drones. Nice. That's cool. Oh, by the way, these guys probably moved over here because drones with slightly different traits won't stack. So these guys probably don't have that humidity tolerance thing. Well, this guy does. All right. Well, I don't know why he didn't go in then. Probably some other weird trait. So for now, we're in pretty good shape, but we'll just let this continue running. I'm more worried about the drone that has, you know, just the species cultivated more so than the trait. So we're in good shape. Cool. So one more thing I'm doing here is I'm going to set this guy up to be just a continuous run. So let's set this guy to ignored. Cool. So he should pull stuff out of there. I want to get, instead of impregnated frames, I want to get some more. Well, I guess I could leave them in. It doesn't really hurt for now. But I want my cultivated gene pool to go into there in just a minute once I'm done making sure I've got enough of these. Actually, now's probably good. We'll just snag one of these guys. We'll get the princess when she shows up. There she is. And then we'll put all but one of these in here. And then I'm going to put these guys in here. So what should happen is, because we've got a decent amount of tropical drones in here, there's no chance of crossbreeding. So when the cultivated drone comes out and tries to go in here, if he doesn't fit, he's also not going to fit in here because this drone's already set up. I just have to make sure not to remove these drones and I'll be all right. But now we'll be able to get a lot of combs, which is something we're going to need. Meanwhile, still waiting on common bees. And like I said, there's much better automation coming up with logistics pipes, but unfortunately I need some more of the advanced resources from bees before I can really play with logistics pipes. So you're just going to have to, unfortunately, hang tight until I can get those items that I need. So we should be actually pretty close to it, though. I'm hoping to have at least the infrastructure set up this episode, and then next episode we'll start playing with those logistics pipes things. I'll probably continue bee breeding between this episode and next. Oh yeah, look at that. Just got purebred common princesses and drones. This 3 metabolic frame deal is awesome. I am really having some good luck with it. So I'm going to go ahead and let these guys run through and do their thing. Oh, this guy's not going to wind up being acclimatized. I'll fix that now. And the excess drones can go in here for later. Cool. I am loving it. Be right back. Alright guys, so I just combined common and cultivated, and I just got purebred diligent. I also got a noble diligent. So that's kind of neat, but I'm glad I got the purebred diligent. I'm going to go ahead and breed these guys together a few times, make sure we have enough of them, and then I need to use them to get unweary. And once I've got unweary, I combine the unweary and the diligent to get industrious. And this is the bee that I'm really looking for, because this is going to get me the stringy comb, which gets me propolis. Let's see. There we go. And it's also the bee that's going to get me something really cool called pollen, which is going to really allow me to kickstart this whole process. So let's let this run a little bit. I turned him back on because I want him to auto extract. This is a hybrid, so he can go into here. I will want that noble, by the way. Nobles can eventually get up to imperials, which can produce some royal jelly, which we're going to absolutely need because it's going to be one of the main components for extra bees, mutations that we can do some really cool stuff with. So again, we're just going to let this guy hang out for a little bit, and we'll be back in a few. Alright guys, I have a little bit of a crazy idea. While I'm waiting for these bees to process, what if I started decorating this room a little bit? Now, there's some wood. I like wood in my bee breeding room. And there's some wood from extra utilities that you can color. So I'm just going to grab a few, like let's just grab maybe a stack's worth of yellow. And maybe a stack's worth of black? How might this look? What if I did like a yellow and black wood type color thing? Don't know how well it's going to work out, but what if it... I mean, this is a bee room after all, right? So, I mean, it might look a little bit silly, but what if we did something like that? Where it's like striped? No, not you. And then we had... just have both of these handy for me to... do this with. Is this looking a little ridiculous, or do you like it? I don't know. I just thought it might be a cool little pattern for my bee room. It might apply, maybe. Let me just do it and we'll see what happens. I'm gonna need more wood. It's not even the wood that I'm worried about, it's the yellow dye, because I don't really have that many flowers at the moment. You might have noticed that bees tend to produce flowers for you, so that's kind of nice. Where's all my... where'd my drones go? Okay. Gotta be here somewhere. Oh, that's right. I left her in the acclimatizer. For a minute there, I was worried, like, hey, what happened to my diligent queen? Well, guys, check it out. I just got a purebred industrious drone and princess. I'm very excited about that because that means that's the princess I was working towards. So you can see I got my way through wary drones. I had a little bit of a bumpy ride getting through wary, but actually it worked out all right in the end. I don't even know what these guys are. So let's get a few more honey drops into our beealyzer. Nice to always have as much of those. Unwary diligent. This is a purebred unwary, and this is unwary industrious. These guys are also purebred and not purebred. So I'm trying to keep these things as well sorted as possible. And we'll put these guys in the non-purebred category. And I actually also threw a filing cabinet right under here to store any princesses that I need to. Figured that was a good spot. So I'm setting up my industrious drones here to kind of loop through and just, you know, do whatever they can. I would like them to have the fast productivity, but it's not that important right now. It's a trait that we'll be able to force on them later. But now that we've got this flowing, we can start working with the logistics pipe stuff that we're going to want to get to. A lot of the logistics pipes that I wanted to do is going to require a lot of items that I just didn't have access to yet. But now that these guys are going, oh yeah, I've got some cool stuff ready to go. So this thing, these impregnated frames are almost done. Let's actually throw some more provens in there. And what I'm going to do is once I've run through this cycle just a few times with the industrious and let her create a few extra industrious offspring, I'm going to do some other stuff. But in the meantime, I would like to take care of a little something that I've got. I've got a bunch of items in here that have started taking damage, right? And actually, why don't I run back here and gotten something else? So here's a little trick for you guys. It's probably technically cheating, but what are you gonna do? I like to cheat sometimes. I'm going to repair these frames. That's right, you can repair them because just like you know, the tools that can be repaired, they're just, you know, basically taking damage in the same way behind the scenes. And we've still got this crazy room set up, believe it or not. So if I toss my frames in here, they might be repairable in the Arcane Reconstructor. Oh yeah, look at that. Nice, right? So I can go ahead and repair all this cool stuff, and I can even probably repair my Talisman of Remedium, hopefully. Let's see what happens. Nice. Check it out. So I'm going to let these things repair, and then I'm going to set up my industrious bees to run, and then I'm going to say that this is probably the last episode I'll do much with breeding. So I think I've spent almost a whole episode teaching you guys how to breed your bees, what your best ways to do it are. You should have a pretty good understanding of it at this point. Going forward, I'm just not going to focus too much on breeding because it does get a little tedious and boring sometimes. That's why even towards the end here, I kind of cut it out and made sure that you guys were pretty much good to go with the whole breeding thing. I don't like to show too much of it on camera because after a while, like I said, it's a little boring. Plus, believe me, there was like 45 minutes to an hour worth of footage between, behind the scenes where I was just sitting there waiting for the bees to process, waiting for them to breed up and do all this other stuff. So there's a lot of time spent behind the scenes that you're not seeing. So hopefully you guys are happy with the fact that you're not sitting there watching bees die. That's at least the plan. So for now, I'm repairing my talisman of remedium, which is something I'm going to need. Believe me, as I get more resources out of these bees, I will be able to wear a nice bee suit that will prevent me from taking any damage at all. But for now, this talisman of remedium is a lifesaver, quite literally. So let's head back down there and see what's happening. So I did bring my necrotic frames back, so the industrious bees that we left there are probably not dead just yet. But that's okay. I want to have this bee, wherever she be. There she is. I'm going to transfer her into here. So this cultivated stock is nice and good. I'm happy with the way he worked out. I'm actually going to real quick analyze these guys because I'm just curious. Oh, good. See, the humidity tolerance is on both traits there. So the same for this one. Yeah, nice. So that cultivated bee has a good amount of humidity tolerance. That's good to know. I mean, it really doesn't matter what I do with her. I'll just throw her in there for now. And we'll let the industrious bee do some processing. Now, I'll be able to force those traits in a little bit in a much more efficient way than I'm doing right now. But we're going to have to wait a little bit before we can do that. I need to get another set of bees. Before I can really do stuff, I need to get the royal set of, or the royal jelly. That's really what's needed to do some of the top tier stuff. So I'm going to need an imperial bee, which comes from noble and majestic bees. Majestic being noble and cultivated, and noble being common and cultivated. So I have to do the common cultivated process again, but this time hope for noble instead of diligent, which I got last time. And then I can work my way up to imperial, which can be used to make royal jelly. Then I'll be able to create some machines that can really manipulate the genes of these bees so that they can do exactly what I want them to do. For now, though, it's time to wrap up the episode. So this is Direwolf20 signing off. Hope you enjoyed the episode. I'm going to come back next time, and hopefully now that we are starting to produce some pollen, or at least I hope we're starting to produce pollen if we look in here. Not yet, but soon. I should be able to, with any luck, go ahead and kick off logistics pipes and sorting bees and doing some cool stuff with them. But we're going to have to wait until that pollen produces. So we'll come back next episode and it'll be ready. All right, guys. This is Direwolf20 signing off. Oh, by the way, how do you like my bee room? I know, it's a little silly, but I think it was a little silly on purpose. All right, guys. Take it easy.